Welcome to The Flip Side. This is Gunjan Amrit Kochar, and today we have a very special episode with Gunjan Amrit Kochar, who I fondly call Guru Ji. Gunjan Amrit Kochar is a transformative Kundalini Yoga teacher whose work sits at the intersection of ancient wisdom and modern emotional healing. Known for her gentle yet deeply powerful approach, she guides individuals into greater awareness, inner expansion through breathwork, movement, and mantra. On the flip side, we explore the woman behind the calm, her shadows, her breakthroughs, and the rituals that continue to shape her path. I'd been practicing yoga for many years, and I had no idea about Kundalini Yoga, what it is, what it meant. And suddenly, I think when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And I came across womb healing meditation on a full moon. And that's where Guru Ji, for me, stepped in. So, welcome to the flip side, Gunjan. Thank you so much for doing this. I still keep going back to that one womb healing meditation that I did with you, and it's left such an impact that today I had to have you here.
Thank you for having me, Gulnar. Though I won't even remember which meditation that was, but I remember my connection with you. And I think that's what makes it always special.
So sweet. Thank you so much. But I do want to today talk about you beyond the white clothes and the turban. So please tell all of us who Gunjan is behind this aura.
Wow, so who I am behind this aura, I think the only way I have seen myself is my intro would be like, even on a bio, would never be about being a Kundalini Yoga teacher first, would be a mother of 3 children. And I think that's how I have just seen myself. I just say I'm a hardcore mother. And yeah, I love being a homemaker. I love cooking. So all of this behind turban, I love being in my space with my children and family. Yeah.
Mama bear, all right.
Yeah.
So, after I became a mom, I think my definition of myself also changed. And today I put that as the foremost. Of course, there was brand management and my profession before I became a mother. But today my identity, it revolves around my boys. And for you, when did your journey into what you do began? Was it motherhood that led you to Kundalini, or was it another personal growth journey, which I think I'd want to know and discuss more about how you got here?
So, if I go back, my background into practicing yoga, just as a yoga, as a lineage of my, I think my being at what I truly enjoy and connect to, started exactly after the birth of my first child. And I remember he was about 10 months old, and I had excruciating pain in my shoulder, which wouldn't go. And also, it's a very natural process as a mother. When you start feeding your children, you find constriction in your body. And not a lot of mothers, talk about it because it's still not so open, I feel. But it's so important to acknowledge what's happening within us. And that pain in my shoulder was connected to the whole change and the feeding aspect. And and that's when I couldn't get any support. I just tried everything, physiotherapy, etc., doctor, nothing helped. Something would just pinch, and that pinch was stress, which just comes in as you become a mother. And you want to feed your child, and there are so many things you're trying to figure out. And I'm talking of 23 years ago. So that time it wasn't about Google, it wasn't about getting information online.
Chat GPT these days, everything. I
Exactly.
mean, I think my best friend today has become Chat GPT because it's so strange how you've mentioned this. I would actually call it mystic, because just yesterday I'm sitting here and I know I'm shooting back to back, but my left shoulder honestly is gone, and I have no idea why that came on. And I was trying to focus on my breath last night before sleeping, that, I know I'm having a few stressful work days. But again, I had no answers. I kept trying to breathe into my shoulder, that I don't know what has got you. Are you feeling the burden? Is it, another sense of responsibility which we do carry even with work, with home, and the unspoken pressures of life? But it's just so mystic that you happen to mention that, because off camera I did want to ask you what do I do with my shoulder. But yeah, how do you find answers to the various pains in your
Body. Yeah, you know what? So this is because being a mother is a 24/7 job. It is not a job where even you're sleeping, you're still so awake. And so your whole heart, if it's, and I'm not going to say that no mother is like really, passionate. Every mother has their own way to be with their children, and no way is right or wrong. So when these pains happen, there's a sign. The body is screaming to tell us something needs attention. And left is also like the feminine side. So something in us has changed so much already being a mother. And that's what happened for me. And I remember trying. And then finally, I was hell bent on getting back to my, pre birth weight and stuff. And then I found this yoga, a teacher, and a family member, my brother-in-law. He said, "Have you ever tried yoga?" And I said, "No, but I never heard about yoga. I was in a convent school and I never heard about it. We never did yoga. We did exercises and everything that time." And just when I was asked, I found a teacher. And I was very blessed that I found very, very good teachers. So that was my way to find relief. And that's when I found yoga, and yoga found me. And then there was no looking back. But that was when I started a basic vinyasa practice. But since you asked about Kundalini, that's another part of how life takes you to the next step. And that also happened with a lot of, it was a challenge with my body that time. That was another set of challenges where I was deficient terribly in B12 and other minerals in the body. So one day I woke up with not feeling my limbs. I couldn't feel my arms and legs. And that was a wake up call. I couldn't understand. So I was working, I was a visual merchandiser, I used to be a freelancer, enjoy teaching in a fashion school. And one day I woke up with asking my husband, "Can you move my arm? I can't feel my limbs." I could only feel, thankfully, my heart. And that's when I started taking care of myself, and I started doing alternative medicine. And one day I found Kundalini Yoga. And that's another story.
Wow. No, I do want to talk about all your stories today because the flip side is about the people behind the brands that we've become. And I call ourselves brands too, because we all have a face that we put on. And, even as a mother, there are so many days where I know I would be down. I may just try and put on a smile for my sons, but my older son, because obviously he has that understanding and they pick on that energy. Even the little one who's only 6 months old right now, but the days I know I'm not okay, I may be smiling at him, but I know he's picked on my energy to know mama's not okay. And whether he's cranky or whatever moods that your children are a representation of what's actually going on inside of you. So let us talk and dive into that story of yours too.
So I remember stress was always that time a part of life. And when I actually met my teacher at that time, I remember she saying that she's 85-year-old now, and she said, "We never knew the word stress. What is this stress anyhow?" So I remember having stressful time, and stress being when you're in a relationship with your partner, you have a child, there are stresses in life and nobody really gets away from them. But I always, since I was already practicing yoga, I knew there was something which can help me. And I had my yoga teacher come home and he said, "Show me your MRI." And I knew he did not know that MRI, but it was just that placebo effect, And he said, "You know what? Everything's good with you. Let's just do some Surya Namaskars." And then he told me about a festival in India which happens in Rishikesh every year, the International Yoga Festival. And he said, "Go there." And I thought, okay, I'll try. And I did. So when I reached there, I overheard someone say, don't go to a Kundalini Yoga class. You will land up in a mental asylum. I overheard this conversation. So, what I was experiencing was already so crazy. I said, well, might as well just do this, go a little bit more crazy. And, uh, and I went to the first Kundalini Yoga class, and I remember sitting there in a class of maybe 100 people right at the back. And I know I couldn't stop my tears. I just did not know what happened. And I still didn't understand what strength came through me in that practice. And I can never thank that enough because I felt I came home. And my healing journey just started.
So for me, everybody romanticizes spiritual awakening, and no one really knows what happens behind closed doors. So in terms of the spiritual awakening that I had with just that one session with you, when you just came on to the camera, I remember because this was an online one. I'm sitting in Hyderabad, you're in Delhi, and you just said Satnam, everyone. And of course, I'm raised, I practice many philosophies today, but at the core, I'm a Sikhni, I'm a Jat Sikhni. We've grown up praying to Baba Nanak. And the minute you said Satnam, you had me there. And I was locked. And I could never imagine that it was Satnam throughout with our 7 chakras as well, and the awakening that had to happen in each chakra. So this was a whole new world that kind of opened up for me with Kundalini. And the more deeper I went in, I realized that it was a lot of hard work, a lot of blocks, a lot of emotional blocks, a lot of numbness that without knowing you just carry, and you put on your face, you move on to the next. And as mothers also, I mean, every day there's so much happening in the house, and a woman has to keep it all together. Wear the silent blue. So it was very different for me. But in terms of the layman, and even with you, when you did try to romanticize your spiritual awakening, what was actually going on behind closed doors for you?
So when I started, thankfully, there was no Instagram, and there was no social media, which honestly romanticizes yoga more than what yoga is. And if you're lucky to find the teachers who are dedicated in their practice, you don't romanticize it. It's actually, you really live your life in the way you really can acknowledge life is, because otherwise, you can sit there waiting for a fairy tale, and it ain't happening till you really make that effort.
Because even when you're talking about chakras, and you spoke about your health and everything being packed up, where did you begin? What emotional weight were you shedding off? Because I know that personally, with my experience, also the emotional weight that I carried, I never thought I have stored it on my hips. Or, like right now, I've told you that my left shoulder has been hurting since yesterday. But you never really know, and you don't even concentrate on these till you actually get onto that mat and you practice, and you realize that, oh my god, I'm very stiff on the left side of my body or the right side. And there is a deeper meaning which our ancient wisdom has told all of us, but we're just too busy living our materialistic lives. So where were the messages in your body, and how did you lift off that emotional weight?
So what happened for me was, when I actually finished that first practice, when I couldn't stop those tears, I asked myself, my life wasn't so terrible that I don't even understand why am I crying. But what actually happened was that I truly understood that one thing, which was day after day, I continued practicing 6 days in a row that time at the festival, that I had a heart opening for my own self. And in this life, usually our journey, if we have just moved from the head into the heart, that's all we need. And that's where the merging of what we call the lower centers come to. and also the upper centers. The only place we meet is our heart. And for me, that was the beginning because I needed to heal. And the healing happens when, all these pains will lead us to where are we hurting really? So, really, hurt is a word where you can only understand because everything around this area, the heart center, the solar plexus, is where the emotions come in. So, I think for me, the heart center was a big thing. And the mantras, you've done that, the mantras, the movements, and the breath work, they all go hand in hand. That's why we call it the Trinity.
Trinity, true,
Yeah.
true. In fact, as a lullaby for my little one now, so I used to sing the Kapi Cake song for my older one, but for my younger one, it's only mantras. And he sleeps to just the mere sound of Om.
Oh, I have a lovely story on that. It's the story of being how the children in the womb are, and how when they hear the mantras, even I'm sure you must be chanting or you must be, doing something at the time you were carrying him. And when they come out, they already know it, right? They're familiarized with everything until the age we have had them. They've had all of it. So these kids these days are born with technology because they've already known the technology through us as well. But that's a very, very beautiful real story of my own child in the mantras. And I was carrying my second child when I came into Kundalini Yoga. So this is where my real life is. I mean, I wasn't a teacher then. I was just a student. I was a practitioner. And every day I used to sit and bless her in my womb. And I used to sing what we sing, A Long Time Son. It's a beautiful closing prayer. And every day I would sing and cry. I couldn't stop crying, blessing her. So when she was out of this womb, and she was barely 40 days, and we used to play the song, every time we would play The Long Time Son, she would start to pout and cry. And if I changed the mantra, she would change. I would try again, she would cry. That's when I realized because she only heard me cry every time I blessed her on the long time son. So, well, that's the journey I think, one can have so deep with that connection it gives me personally from just even sitting here today. That connection doesn't go away.
It really doesn't, because with my first pregnancy, I carried so many fears. It was jumping into the unknown. And I've always had a checklist in my mind, okay, I need to become a mother by X age, and I need to have my company reach a certain place by Y age. And with all of these numbers that I used to keep juggling and, ticking mark everything in my checklist, when I actually got pregnant with my first one, I had no idea what happened. And it was just jumping into the unknown. It took me a few months to figure out all the fears and insecurities that I was harboring. I was literally seeing it in my older son. And he was my mirror. Whatever I felt till date, whether mama is happy or sad, he just shows me that mirror. And with my second one, the pregnancy was very complicated. I call him my miracle one. My first one I call a love child. The second one is a miracle child. But it was a very complicated and tough time for us as a family, and the way we all held each other, and we didn't let go of that hope, and also with my husband forever backing me up and saying everything will be fine. And in fact, there were moments where I would doubt my own body and myself, but I had him holding me very strong during those days and saying everything will be fine. Our baby is fine. And we had sense of humor to pull us through that time. So today, our second one, I mean, all we see is just joy. We just see joy, and he's just so marveled with everything around. It's just joyful, and I feel that it really truly matters on what the mother is feeling, what you are going through, and our children are our mirrors. They are our mirrors at an energy level, and I think the growth is more for us, and I'm learning from my
From
children.
them. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
learning from my
Child is the
children.
father of.
Yeah. Oh wow, I didn't. That is a true.
That's true.
That's a
Child is
true.
the father of man. That's true. So they are just the embodiment of, what we have just sent out into the, like, everything we send out, every word we say is is like a connection, is like a vibration into the universe. And in the world of shamans, they say that anything you say, remember, it has never faded. So any word will always come. That's one of the beliefs, that it comes even to your family. So remember, every word spoken doesn't go wasted. So these children are our, like the embodiment. And if we wonder one day, we're like, how are they like that? How are they like this and that? They're like, because we have the, part of us is exactly what they're, imitating.
I know. In fact, this awareness and consciousness, I don't know if our parents carried that, because I do feel that this is a generational shift. You know, I see my father, I mean, he had no time. He was busy working. My mom was busy managing us and the home. But this generational shift and awareness that has come in terms of even our journeys, you know, for us, like how we were talking about the world of you know, school that you've put your youngest one in. So it's amazing how that journey actually takes us to know, because even with our older one, it took us many schools for us to realize that no, I think the Montessori system will work the best for him. So I think
Yeah,
it's
they
it's them
choose.
dictating
They
and they
choose.
choose. Yeah.
Absolutely. We're just the vessel coming through that we have given them, and their purpose is theirs. You know. Yeah.
You know, the Waldorf system, the Montessori system, of course, this is education, but when you talk about the spiritual modalities, from yoga to Kundalini Yoga, there are a lot of misconceptions also that people have about spiritual practices, spiritual people. It could be ritualistic, it could be a cult, it could be religious, but we're part of it. We practice it daily also to get by and ignore the stresses, you know, that we want to carry when we're on the mat. Or not many know that that practice is helping us deal with that stress. But what are the misconceptions you feel people have about you practicing what you're doing?
Oh, wonderful. So this is a good question where I don't know if people have a misconception, but they have a misconception or their understanding or the myth behind what is Kundalini Yoga. Yes, they are intrigued from what I'm doing. They would like to ask, and but there's a, just what you mentioned about, just when you were having your child and you had fears, it was the unknown. I'm going to say, share from that. And it was a love child. It is what it is meant to be. And everything is different, right? He imitates you, but he has his own identity. So Kundalini Yoga is also one of those practices in a lineage where it's about knowing the unknown. Actually, the unknown is known to me. Now, the thing about Kundalini is that there is a lot of myth also, that you should not do it in a certain way. You should, like I overheard when I was going to go to
You're
a
going to go
Kundalini class,
to a
that you may
mental
land up in a
asylum.
mental asylum.
Yeah.
So it's not only in India, it's in many places in the world. Kundalini can be dangerous.
Yes, I've
Okay.
heard that too. In fact,
Right.
when I was practicing it, this was one of the things that people told me, that, you know, be careful because it is dangerous and you don't know how it's going to impact on your nervous system. And here, I mean, of course, yoga, breath work, movement, and here it's mantra added. So in my head, it was a very logical approach. I wasn't questioning the spiritual part of it or the science behind what was happening. And I said, yeah, it's okay. There's just a mantra that's added to it.
You actually helped answering this to a great extent because you felt logical with it. So anything which is logical, like it's a technology, I would say it's a technology. That's how it's put out. And if you've done it in the correct way, the technique will empower you. What can be dangerous also is because if as humans become empowered, that's a big danger, because then you're like this really powerful being. And that power actually has always been within us, the dormant energy, which we call. The beauty is that if you have it just done the systematic way, you are going to be you are going to be the god for your own self. You will have the consciousness of knowing where am I generating, what am I doing in life, observing, where am I destroying my own self. So this is where the consciousness will come in. So that's one of the dangers. And also, I would encourage anyone who wants to practice should always start to practice with a teacher who's certified in it and has an experience. So then there is really no danger and there is no myth then.
But is it healing trauma?
So
And
what happened for you, tell me, when you did it?
so for me, of course, the inside details of,
Lots used to happen, I
yeah,
remember.
so for me, I think the womb healing, the understanding of full moon, new moon, I had been chanting and practicing Nichiren Daishonin's Buddhism until then, where I was very confident and grateful, and I thank that practice. It has made me who I am today. But I was at that stage of exploring, and I think it was because of my practice to, give me that courage to go and explore other modalities as well. So I did not follow or understand the impact, the moon would have or the sun has. We just take our nature for granted, right? We don't delve into it. It's something that we're just born in this world, and okay, there's day, there's night, there's sun, there's moon, but it just ends there for a lot of us. But as you learn spiritually, I was growing, even the healing and the days that we would pick, how you have your winter, yeah, you have that coming too. So I think the healing part of it, something had shifted in me that day where I had never focused on the chakras as well, and it was full moon. And the water intake, I think we all had that glass of water. We had our notepads and pens because of everything that you were saying, taking that down. But I felt such a strong shift inside of me. I can never explain that feeling, but there was no looking back for me. And I realized, wow, I felt that I was truly connecting to a part of me that I had just completely shut off to not feel anymore. Because I think in my profession as well, I mean, I am a very sensitive and emotional person, but I have this poker face, this game face on, that okay, let's go take on the world and be this go-getter. And I was also in a new city, new culture, new language. So for me, that shift and that personal connect, and I was literally just holding myself, and I had forgotten how to hold myself because I was busy holding on to everything else. I was holding on to my husband for the longest time, my son, and my friends, my family. So I think that was that moment of, I think awakening for me that no, I need to hold me, and I need to hold me dear.
This really simplifies it, right? Because what really happens is that, when we do any practice, I'm not going to say it's just Kundalini, with a lineage of different yoga practices. Also, we're working through the body, we're working through the system, the muscle systems, the nervous systems, the glandular systems. In Kundalini, the difference happens is the intensity changes because of adding the breath work consciously with the movements and adding the mantras, because they take away what we call are the mind games. And we constantly, like, my mantra is, I have pain today, I don't know if I can do this, I can do this. That's exactly how I went to the class. And you just said that I can't describe it, but that something really shifted in me. So when I sat in my first class, I did a posture in continuation for 11 minutes. Did I think that I will sit on my heels and just keep moving my arms up and down and my body up and down for 11 minutes? If I had told myself that I'm so sick I can't do this, probably I wouldn't have. But you're guided. Also, just we all know that everyone has some practice they're guided to. And in the end, you just surrender, because that practice has its own power. It has its mantras, have the purity of the gurus. There's words spoken from the gurus, and that frequency, it can never fail us.
You are Guruji for me right now, but let's discuss how from being a mother is now the mother of Kundalini for a lot of us, where we look up to you and we're like, okay, what is going to happen next, and how do we heal this part of our lives and us? So how was that journey? Let's at least step into, because today that is your identity to the outside world.
Oh, I don't know.
That is your identity, So I think that has become your identity of being a Kundalini yoga teacher. But behind that, of course, you say you're a mother, but how do you bridge that gap in your mind?
So Gulnar, when I come on the mat, there are days. Okay, so just like when you've come here today, and you have a 6-month-old baby, and you know how you're still taking care. You go back and forth in between. Okay, so you just know exactly what's really happening. Even sitting here, you tuned in. So for me also, just like you, exactly like you, what I'm passionate about is bringing out what has helped me, because I did not know any better. And what is better than empowering your own self, where the beliefs are, okay, we need someone. Okay, I need my teacher some days, and we all need someone. But what my I would still say that my prayer or my focus is that when we practice together, there is a practice which is taken home, like a 40-day practice. Now, when I come from that pain of different issues in my body, and I know I started healing, and I had this pain for 6 years, the pain in my shoulder. And one day I always tell myself, I wish I'd noted it down. When was it disappeared? Because Kundalini does, the energy is that it's like kinesiology. So the practicality is that there are blocks. If we have blocks in the body, we all have something going on. And now when the nervous system is moved, and which is every single day, we have changes in the nervous system. And now either we're too excited, or something will happen, or even everything is going okay, the nervous system experiences everything. Now, when that part of the body, say, if you're holding your arms up for like 7 minutes, 11 minutes, I mean, I did this in my pregnancy. I used to do this for releasing anger from the body, if there is, or I don't remember, there was one for anger, one for childhood trauma. So I remember doing that. And that's when that part of the body which is holding up is pushed, that okay, let's release it. There is this, there's this chatter inside probably happening, and there is some encouragement coming, and that encouragement is moved through the block, and then it clears out.
So it's very interesting how even why I work after motherhood is because I'm still in touch with that girl who had dreams, whose purpose in life was empowerment, still is. And when I discovered that purpose, it was, of course, through my practice, I discovered my purpose, and I want to live by that on a daily basis. So, but after motherhood, it's a challenge to keep going back to you because your entire identity changes. And your purpose may remain the same, but then the shift is okay, how do I empower my sons now? How do I empower my man? How do I empower my family? But the legacy that we want to leave behind and yet be in touch with our purpose. Our identity has changed. Of course, it has. Maybe it's blended in, maybe it's, of course, you're just adding more feathers. But the legacy, I'll never forget how in one of the sessions you did share, and it was about motherhood. How you want to leave a legacy of love
Yeah,
behind.
you remember, I was going to
Yeah,
anyway say that
I know.
forever.
Of course, I remember.
Yeah, always. Yeah, that's the legacy. Because I think love heals everything. I am a firm believer of it, no matter what. And love is a big word, or it can be a small word. I don't even know who actually created this word. Sorry, I will have to check on ChatGPT. But love itself, if love really has a meaning, I think it is, for me especially, it's not also anymore just about being a mother, being everything for the children. It's about, end of the day, I go back to that question of Ramana Maharishi. When you said about the identities, who am I? Really do. And the moment, one of my teachers say, the minute we say, who am I, you actually forget everything. You don't even know who we are. We don't even know these are the labels we've put ourselves.
I swear. In fact, there was this beautiful Instagram reel that I came across where, they actually did a study and they asked people, okay, who are you? And everybody gave their name, their designation in XYZ, what they do, what they like, what they don't like. But, I mean, who are you really? We only live our lives with the labels that we are holding on to so tightly and making that as our identity that we forget who we really are.
The part of us, a few things are very kind of there, in the Vedas, and that's like we're a part of the macrocosm. So I don't know if this is the answer because I still won't be able, I'm not the person who will have an answer for that. But the macrocosm, we are the microcosm. And we're just like, we're the blend of all these five elements this whole universe is made of. And it all merges into one when we go away. And what is that one? When we say Ik Onkar, everything is one. And for me, that oneness is also love. If we live in the language of love, then so much can change. Actually, identities dissolve.
Everything does. In fact, in my Buddhist practice as well, there's oneness of life and environment. So whatever is inside is what you will see outside. And yeah, and that is the mirror. And of course, I don't want to get into the nature and the materialistic world in our spiritual realm, but let me move on to a very fun segment. The flip side is right at the end for you to leave us with that. But let's move on to the fun segment of the rapid fire. Okay, so breathwork or mantra?
Both.
Both? Give me one. Give me
Absolutely.
one. Secretly. For me, it's always the mantra because breathwork I still struggle with. But tell me.
Yeah, what can take my breath away is the mantra.
Oh, love it. Love it. Okay, your favorite Kriya.
My favorite Kriya, if we talk of the Kriya, I'm going to be a little precise here. The Kriya for me in Kundalini is a set of exercises, yet there can be a Kriya just with one exercise. And the one I really like is be enchantingly beautiful.
A mistake that taught you the most.
Oh, mistake which taught me the most. It's a very realistic thing which I have realized of late, that never write any stories on WhatsApp if there is some place of misunderstanding, because you never know where the messages go. So yeah, this is the real world. I'm kind of learning, and this is a very late understanding, but it's very good actually. It's actually everything is being read out everywhere, but be mindful of that. And the biggest mistake would for me is always be careful with your boundaries. Have healthy boundaries. Very important.
Years to realize that, but I think I'm managing that. Professionally, I've always had.
Yeah.
Personally, I did kind of have moments of blurring because I'm an open book with my loved ones. But even
Yeah.
then, I think time management, and after, of course, you become a mother, you do need to have boundaries.
And I think it's a learning
Yeah, it's a learning
process
process.
for
Yeah,
everyone.
true. What drains you?
What drains me? That's a question. I don't have a very quick answer for that. But
I have a long list.
really,
I have a long list.
I think what drains me essentially is Delhi traffic more than anything.
Politically correct and how?
I mean, I think that could be most draining for me. Other things are different, those are different labels, but draining means if you're in traffic, that's a
oh.
full on drain, and I don't enjoy that.
Apart from the practice, what nourishes you?
Oh wow, what nourishes me most is my mother.
Oh, so
Yeah,
sweet.
yeah.
So
My
sweet.
heart. Yeah, completely.
Beautiful. The flip side of being a Kundalini yoga teacher.
The flip side.
There is a lot of emotional weight too that comes your way. And how
Absolutely.
do you also block and re-energize yourself so you're able to help others?
So the flip side, I would say, if I had to go back for years of 17 years into teaching now, and I would say the flip side definitely was, could be very, very drained earlier. And there was so much because, your own energy is still shifting, and which still does. But okay, so the flip side is if I don't practice my sadhana every day, that's a complete flip then. But if I have a practice, a dedicated practice morning and evening, there is less flipping then. Definitely less flipping.
You're more anchored.
Much more anchored. I'm also with Kundalini, which is my dedicated practice. I'm also Vipassana practitioner. So that's in the meditation I do every single day, morning and evening. And everything can take a walk, but I need to be in bed at 8:30 with my son, where I will do my meditations and he can go to bed.
Likewise, in fact, everyone, when they ask me, why don't you step out at night? But that 7 to 9 p.m. window when
Yeah,
I'm putting the kids to
absolutely.
bed and when I'm literally snuggling and cuddling with my boys,
Yeah.
I would not trade that for anything.
For
And I want to
anything.
stay in bed, be in bed, not put
Yeah.
them to bed and go out. No, that's not
Yeah.
how we're built. I want to enjoy this time. I know
Well,
it's not gonna.
you have that
Yeah,
time. I mean, I'm talking of a window. I'm like way a decade much older.
I know. Right now I'm
So
in that phase and I'm just holding it on.
it is the best
Yeah,
phase.
it is
It
the
is the
best
best
phase.
phase.
I know
Yeah.
that's
So
true.
the yeah that the flip happens, and you I can tell my flip does happen, and that would be a lot of overwhelm or anxiousness will come in. But I know, okay, because today my practice, or it's not that it has to be like that. It has to be even told anymore. You just
So
start to
given.
recognize. Your body recognizes it.
Yeah,
So
wonderful.
you can't escape it.
Wonderful. So thank you so much, Gunjan, for being a part of this. And it's been a very special journey with you for me personally. But what next and where from here would you be headed?
What next? I don't know. I don't know what's next. I just know that with this practice, I get to meet so many people and not as work. And it's not work for me. I think it's real life for me. And if I would only take it as, that's why, the flip side is not really a flip because you have to embody it. And just like a role of a mother, just like the role of the father, and we all have these labels, I would just embody something I completely connect with. So I think that's what I would say. Just there's nothing more. I don't know what I'm looking for. I don't even know what's next. I'm just being. I'm just being, and I'm so grateful that I'm here and I could spend some time with you.
I know, I know. I love the connect that we have. And like you said, I think it's also, the energies, of course, they have to match at a certain time. And we all connect in different
Absolutely.
phases of our lives.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for our connection too. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank
And
you.
off camera, we will take our conversation because we are not done yet. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Thank you
you
so
so
much.
much.
Thank you. Thank you.